You are sitting in your driveway right now, looking at a vehicle that represents everything you have worked for. It is polished, and it is powerful, and it feels like success. But here is the truth that might make your heart sink. That vehicle is not just a mode of transportation. At your age, it is a set of invisible chains. If you are over 55 years old today in 2026, every dollar you spend on a depreciating asset is not just a purchase. It is a direct trade for your remaining time on this earth. Most people do not lose their retirement because they are bad at math. They lose it because they have been programmed to perform wealth instead of building it. We have been taught that a new car or a renovated kitchen is the reward for a lifetime of labor. But the real reward for your labor is the ability to say no to a toxic boss. The real reward is the peace of mind of knowing that you do not have to work until the day you die just to pay for things you already own. The system we live in today is engineered to extract every single dollar from your paycheck before you even realize what happened. And the scariest part is that we often volunteer for it. We buy things we do not need to impress people we do not even like. By the time we reach our mid-50s, we should be at our most free. But for most of us, it is the time when we feel most trapped. We are trapped by payments, and we are trapped by the fear of what happens when the paychecks stop. Think about this for a moment. The average person approaching retirement in the United States today has less than $200,000 in their retirement accounts. At the same time, the average price of a new car has climbed toward $50,000. Do you see the disconnect there? We are spending 1/4 of our entire potential nest egg on a piece of metal that will be worth half its value in 5 years. This is the consumption trap. It is a rigged game where the house always wins unless you know how to stop playing. In this discussion, we are going to expose the hidden math of your lifestyle choices. We're going to look at the 3 tipping points that change everything for your financial future. And most importantly, we are going to build your playbook to escape this financial prison without needing to earn another dollar. Let us start with something that happened to a colleague of mine just last year. He was 60 years old and making a very good salary. He had a nice home and a luxury SUV, and he went on expensive vacations every summer. On paper, he looked like the definition of the American dream. But every Sunday night, he would feel a knot of anxiety in his stomach. He hated his job, and he was exhausted, but he could not quit. He could not even take a lower-paying job that he might actually enjoy. Why? Because he was house poor and car poor. He was performing success while his future was being bled dry by interest rates and maintenance costs. He realized that he was not building wealth. He was just a high-level consumer. There is a massive difference between the high. Consumption is about spending money to feel rich today. Wealth is about having the assets to be free tomorrow. The system does not need you to be poor, because poor people cannot buy anything. The system needs you to be a consumer. It needs you to work your entire life to pay for things you do not own, using money you do not have, to maintain a lifestyle you cannot afford. And they use psychological warfare against you every single day. You have been conditioned since childhood to associate spending with happiness and self-worth. Every commercial and every social media post tells you that your value as a human being is directly correlated to your consumption level. They have created a culture where buying something feels like an achievement, where retail therapy is considered a normal response to stress, and where a credit score has become more important than actual savings. Think about that for a second. We have created a society where your ability to borrow money is more celebrated than your ability to not need to borrow money in the first place. This gets very dark when you look at the math for someone in their 50s or 60s. When you are 25 years old, a mistake costs you money. When you are 55 years old, a mistake costs you years of your life. Let us look at the real cost of a $500 monthly car payment. If you are 50 years old today, and you take that $500 and put it into a Standard & Poor's 500 index fund instead of a car loan, you are making a life-changing choice. Assuming an average return of 10% by the time you are 65, that $500 a month will have grown into over $200,000. That is the difference between a retirement of struggle and a retirement of security. But the car salesman will never tell you that. They want you to focus on the monthly payment. They want you to think in small increments, so you do not see the total destruction of your future wealth. Every dollar you borrow is just future labor sold at a discount. You are literally selling the days of your 60-year-old self to pay for the ego of your 50-year-old self. And cars are just the beginning. The real estate industry has convinced an entire generation that your house is your greatest investment. But in 2026, we know better. Your house is a shelter with a massive financing plan and high maintenance costs attached. If your home equity is your only wealth, you're in a dangerous position. You cannot eat your kitchen cabinets. You cannot pay your medical bills with your drywall. True retirement readiness comes from liquid assets that generate income while you sleep. It comes from breaking the cycle of lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is the phenomenon where, as your income rises, your expenses rise right along with it. You get a raise, and suddenly you need a bigger house. You get a bonus, and suddenly you need a better watch. You are running faster, but you are staying in the exact same place on the treadmill. To escape, you have to understand the 3 tipping points of wealth building. The first tipping point is when your investments earn more in a year than you contribute. This is a massive moment. It means your money is finally doing more work than you are. Early on in your journey, almost all growth comes from your deposits. But once you hit this threshold, the engine starts running on its own fuel. The second tipping point is when your investments earn as much as your actual job pays. This is where life gets very interesting. Imagine you make $70,000 a year, and your portfolio grows by $70,000 in a single year. You have effectively cloned yourself. You have a second version of you out there, working silently and efficiently, without the meetings or the stress. This changes your relationship with your employer. You are no longer a hostage to a paycheck. You can negotiate harder, or you can walk away, because you know your silent partner has your back. The third tipping point is the final stage. This is when your portfolio is large enough to support a 4% withdrawal rate that covers your entire life. This is true financial independence. At this point, work becomes optional. You might still choose to do it, but you do it on your terms. You are no longer filling a bucket with holes in the bottom. You have plugged the holes, and the bucket is overflowing. The beautiful irony is that the less you spend on meaningless things, the more money you have for meaningful experiences. If you stop financing luxury vehicles, you suddenly have a travel fund that can take you across the globe. If you stop buying clothes to impress coworkers, you suddenly have the capital to start that business you always dreamed of. Frugality is not about deprivation. It is about buying your freedom $1 at a time. Most people think the path to wealth is earning more money. But we see people making $200,000 a year who are still living paycheck to paycheck. Earning more money without fixing your consumption habits is like pouring water into a sieve. The real secret is intentionality. Stop asking if you can afford the monthly payment. Start asking what this is really costing you in terms of freedom. Is that new designer bag worth 3 months of your retirement? Is that oversized house worth an extra 5 years in a cubicle? When you start framing your purchases in terms of time, your entire perspective changes. You realize that the most valuable thing you can own is not a brand name. It is your own time. It is the ability to wake up and decide exactly what you want to do with your day. So, how do we start today in 2026? Step 1 is building what we call a freedom buffer. This is not just an emergency fund for when the water heater breaks. This is the money that gives you the power to say no. It is 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield account. It is the psychological foundation of your independence. Step high is to stop the bleeding. Look at every recurring payment and every subscription. Every monthly drain on your account is a vote for staying exactly where you are. Cancel the things you do not use. Downgrade the things that do not bring you genuine joy. Step 3 is to put your money to work in simple and low-cost index funds. Do not try to find the next hot stock or time the market. Just own the entire market and let compound interest do what it has done for over a century. The first $100,000 is the hardest. It feels slow, and it feels like nothing is happening. But once you cross that threshold, the curve begins to bend upward. By the time you reach $500,000 or $1 million, the growth becomes exponential. The second million arrives much faster than the first. But you will never see that growth if you keep cashing out your future to pay for a shiny present. You do not need more money. You need fewer chains. Every chain you break makes the next one easier to snap. As we look toward the future, do not let the marketing algorithms decide how you spend your life. Take back the wheel. Choose the boring used car and the modest house. Choose the peace of mind that comes from a growing bank account. Choose the freedom to spend time with your grandchildren without worrying about the cost of the meal. That is what real success looks like. Success is not a logo on a key fob. Success is the silence of a life without debt. This week, find one chain and break it. Whether it is a subscription or a planned purchase that you realize you do not actually need. Take that money and put it toward your freedom. It just requires a series of intentional choices. You have worked hard for your money for decades. Now it is time to make your money work hard for you. You have the knowledge and you have the plan. Now you just need the discipline to follow through. Remember that the system wins when you consume blindly, but you win when you choose intentionally. Your future self is counting on you to make the right choice today. Stop. The clock is ticking, but it is never too late to start bidding your way out of the trap. Your freedom is waiting for you just on the other side of these choices. Thank you for spending this time with me. Focus